Hello everyone and welcome back to Bacon. Also welcome back to Cinderella Phenomenon. We're on Rod's route. Let's continue. I'll ask if Rod... Already messed up. I will ask Rod if he will pair up with me. I know we do not have a good relationship. Rod has spared no effort in telling me how cruel I have been to his family. But I feel that rectifying whatever mistakes I made with them might be an easy way to get 3 good deeds. Oh, this is going to be very interesting. But Lucette, didn't he tell you that he didn't want you to break his curse? Yes, but that might not be the whole truth. He is still reluctant to break his curse despite all the advice I have offered him. Perhaps you will be able to encourage him where I could not. I do not care if he does not want to break his curse. Humpty Humpty. I only need him to help me remedy the supposedly bad things I have done to his family. I believe that will be the easiest way to break my curse, which just nullifies all of your possible good deeds. But the problem is that I rarely see him here. He's usually at the palace. In order for this arrangement to work, I will need to be in the palace. I, for one, think it's a terrible idea. What if... Laura's voice trails off. She averts her gaze to the floor, her expression a mixture of anxiety and solemn consideration. What if what? Is there something I should know? Both the witch and the fairy just stare at me silently. After a few moments, Parfait speaks. You'd be far away from us, princess. We would not be able to assist you. Witches could be lying in wait for you, knowing that you're the true crown princess of Angiel. They might seek to use you for their own purposes. What sort of purposes? Why would the witches be after me in the first place? Many of them have been corrupted by the Tenebrarum. Darkness has invaded their hearts, making them bitter. Many of them simply want to see the fairy tale curses continue on undisturbed. This is all just speculation, but it's better to be safe rather than sorry. What would you have me do? Delora? I have an idea. I think you can get her into the palace and make sure there's somebody there to look out for her. Why do I get a bad feeling about this? How? Just trust me. Tomorrow, the Ice Princess returns to her palace. I have a bad feeling about this. I do too, honey. I do too. This cannot be happening. Don't dilly-dally. The princess will soon be awake and expecting her new maid. I close my eyes and suppress the urge to groan. How is it that Delora was able to turn me into Emmeline's personal maid? She thought this would be funny, did she? Well, I will make her pay for this. It is kind of funny, though. I expect you not to be late again. We have very strict rules on how the palace staff should behave. I'm not exactly sure how Delora managed this. She told me she was going to cast a spell on me and that it would be over as soon as I opened my eyes. I closed my eyes and sure enough, when I opened them, I found myself here in a maid uniform. What did she do? The maid continues to babble at me. How annoying. I pretend to listen to her as she leads me through the palace hallways. Emmeline and Rod's chambers are located here. Oh! We come to a halt when Emmeline suddenly appears from around the corner. Your Highness! The maid ducks into a neat curtsy. Emmeline's eyes meet mine. I tense as I wait for any signs of recognition from her, but she only gives me a curious look, as if wondering who I am. She clearly does not recognize me. The maid suddenly reaches back and pulls at my shoulder, forcing me into a bow. Oh dear. You are in front of the Crown Princess of Angiel. Show some respect, girl. My apologies, Your Highness. She's new and clearly needs to be taught some manners. Excuse me? Oh, please, there's no need for that. What is she trying to achieve by pretending to be kind to a palace maid? Who is she trying to fool? Your Highness, this is your new personal maid. Emmeline glances at the maid, looking confused. Why do I need a personal maid? It is by the king's orders, princess. Emmeline turns to look at me again. What is your name? She's talking to you, girl. I scowl at the maid before facing Emmeline. I cannot believe I have fallen so low that I am now being ordered around by a maid. Lucette. It's nice to meet you, Lucette. I hope we get along. When I do not respond, Emmeline's face falls. I was just heading to breakfast with my family. Of course, Lucette will escort you to the dining hall. I raise my eyebrows at the maid, irritated. There is no need for concern. I can get there on my own. I breathe a sigh of relief. I am not here to babysit her. The maid leans forward and whispers something in my ear. I don't know how it is that you landed this position, but you owe the royal family your diligence and respect. If you continue to show disrespect, I will be having a word with the king. The maid pushes me forward so that I am forced to stand next to Emmeline. Is that really a proper behavior for a maid to have around, like, in front of the princess or whatever? Because I can't imagine Emmeline being okay with this, and she probably isn't. She's probably about to say something, but that seems really unprofessional. And she reminds me of all those bad managers that I used to have at jobs. Like, there was this one manager who would, like, snap his fingers in my face. She will escort you to the dining hall, Your Highness. Her job requires that she follow you everywhere in case you require assistance with anything. But it is almost time for breakfast, Princess Emmeline, and on top of that, you're also ignoring her, and in that... Didn't you just get on to me about being disrespectful to her? Because so far you've behaved rudely in front of her, you know, while trying to discipline me, or rather Lucette, and then you're completely ignoring everything that she's saying, as well as her discomfort. I guess it's because the king comes first, and maybe they're still kind of worried because of how the queen's role went, that they don't want to make the king angry by accident, even though he's a nicer guy. I don't know, but that just seemed a little off to me. Emmeline frowns and looks at me. Like, it's not off if it were private, it's off because it's in front of the princess and very obviously publicly in front of the princess. Emmeline frowns and looks at me. I'm so sorry. What is she apologizing for? Good morning. Good morning. It seems that you have met your personal maid. The king's eyes widen as soon as he spots me. You look familiar. Does he recognize me? I feel a little tremble in my heart as I consider that hope. Are you not the girl who came to the gates before? I deflate with a soundless sigh. He remembers me as the peasant. This is the first time I am meeting you as Emmeline's personal maid. What is your name? Lucette. That is a lovely name. We are glad to have you here, Lucette. The king gives me a warm smile. The softness of his gaze makes me angry. He never treated me so kindly when he remembered me as his own daughter. That's sad. Emmeline takes her seat while I walk to stand at the walls beside the other maids and butlers. The door opens and Rod walks inside. He greets the king, Ophelia, and then his sister. He is just about to take his seat when his eyes suddenly fall on me. The shock is apparent on his face. Rod, is something wrong? I see there's a new maid on staff. His tone is almost accusatory. I bristle at his words and I'm about to say something when Ophelia speaks. She is Emmeline's new personal maid, Lucette. Rod stares at me for a few moments, his expression unreadable. Eventually, he makes to take his seat. I stand silent and watch as the royal family eat their breakfast. The small area is filled with happy conversation. The four of them smile at each other when they speak, and it is easy to see how comfortable they are all with one another. When I was still here, our meals were always so quiet, but everyone looks so happy now. I bite my lip to will the heavy feeling away. Rod told me that before, but I did not want to believe him. I turn back to the conversation at hand. We have something very important to discuss with you, Emmeline. Oh? I have brought this up before, but now the matter is more pressing. Is this about... Yes, this is about the ball. Ophelia gives the king a disapproving look. Dear, not the ball. I know it seems a strange proposition, but this is royal tradition. Emmeline is at a suitable marrying age, and this ball may yet help her find a suitor. But a husband at a ball? Emmeline's cheeks are tinted pink. A royal ball for Emmeline, for her to find a husband. I never would have agreed to such a thing. The king never forced me into one because he knew that. Girl knows how to put her foot down. I will not force you to marry someone you do not love, Emmeline. We agreed on this ball to uphold tradition. All eligible bachelors will be invited in 4 months' time, and you will choose the man you want to court you. I did find my true love through a ball, after all. He glances at Ophelia, who responds with a fond smile. Her expression falls back into something more worried when she looks at her daughter. But what if I can't choose anyone? We will throw one ball as per tradition. We will not force you into another ball if you do not find a good suitor, but we must uphold traditions at least once. Perhaps this will push you to think more about the future. I will not put any added pressure on you, Emmeline, but I would be happy to see grandchildren before I have to give up my throne. I am not getting any younger, you know. No! Oh no! He's that kind of parent! Oh no! I can totally think he's trying to make light of the situation, but there is an undertone of seriousness. Emmeline eventually sighs and slowly nods. I understand. My gaze shifts to Rod to search for a reaction, but his expression is impassive. No reaction at all. Did he know this was going to happen? But can I really be the princess the kingdom of Angela deserves? I feel so unprepared. You are the crown princess of Angiel. You must be confident. Emmeline looks down, looking genuinely distressed. I'm finished. May I be excused? But sweetheart, you've barely touched your food. You may. Emmeline stands up and ducks into a quick curtsy before rushing from the room. I do not move until I feel Rod's glare on me. I realize that I am meant to follow Emmeline. Excuse me. I curtsy and follow after Emmeline. I barely make it a few steps away from the dining hall before the door flies open and Rod is rushing after me. What are you doing here? Ooh. Questione. Okay. What are you doing here? I would probably avoid the question personally, just because I wouldn't really want him to catch on too quickly. She seems like the blunt type, but at the same time, he might try to stop us if we tell him straight what's going on. But then again, he probably has a good idea of why we're here, too. I'm just gonna answer him. I am here to break my curse. You expect me to believe that when you had people offering to help at the march-in. Rod's expression changes, anger clear in his eyes. No, I know why you are really here. What are you talking about? You thought you might take back what is rightfully yours, didn't you? You have no qualms about hurting my family again. No. I'm gonna keep those thoughts to myself for right now, until the end of this little conversation that they're having. I stare at him, nonplussed by his accusations. I carefully quail the simmering anger inside me. The justifiable anger inside of me. The last thing I want is to be fired before I break my curse. I am not here to hurt anyone, so stop accusing me of such things. We glare at each other in silence. Ooh, I chose correctly. I had always thought that Rod was closed off and quiet, but his emotions are always blazing in his eyes. You shouldn't be here. Rod steps back, but his gaze is still fierce. Fierce! I do not have time for this. I'm going to find Emmeline. Why? So you can insult her? No, because it is now my job to attend her. Excuse me. Snap, snap, snap. The last place I expect to find Emmeline is in the throne room. Much to my surprise, I find her standing alone inside, staring up at the throne. Oh! When she turns to face me, she has a guilty expression on her face. I'm sorry. What is she apologizing for? I was very rude earlier, walking out on everyone at breakfast. Emmeline gazes back at the throne and sighs. I'm sure any other girl would be happy to have a ball. I mean, it's like something out of a fairy tale. But She sighs once again and looks down at her clasped hands. It all sounds so perfect in the fairy tales. 3 days is all it takes before everyone's found their true love. But I don't think that's how it works out in real life, do you? I have nothing to say in response when Emmeline turns her beseeching gaze to me. I don't know how I'm supposed to marry someone I barely even know. Is this really what it means to be the crown princess? Isn't this precisely what you wanted? Excuse me? When your mother married the king, you became a princess. You went from rags to riches overnight. I cannot keep the bitterness from my voice when I speak. Your life is playing out like Cinderella's, is it not? Oh, you were missing of the glass slippers, and even then I am sure the king could arrange for a pair. I can understand why you are so unhappy. Neither can I. Emmeline turns away from me to face the throne once more, and in the sun that streams through the windows, I see something shining on her cheeks. Is she crying? I am so ungrateful. Lucette, what would you do? What? If you were in my place, if you became crown princess overnight, would you go through with the ball? For the sake of Angiel's tradition? For the sake of your role? I would never do anything so worthless. The king never brought up the subject with me. He most likely knew I would have refused. That, or he knew no one would marry her, and that's a really sad thing to say, but because she is her mother's daughter, it probably would have been really tough to have anybody even slightly interested in coming into a ball like that. Emmeline suddenly pats her cheeks and turns to me, a wry smile on her face. I will learn to say that freaking word at some point. I'll Google it and have Google say it to me later. Not right now, though. Not right now. I could do with some fresh air. Shall we go to my friend's shop in town? We have only just exited the throne room when Emmeline stops short and I almost bump into her back. Oh. The snaky man. Your Highness, what a pleasant... Sir Mithros abruptly stops to stare at me, snake-like. Why is Sir Mithros looking at me so intently? Is something the matter, Sir Mithros? No, nothing at all, Your Highness. I am just amused. Amused? Oh, you haven't met my new maid. This is Lucette. Lucette? There is something in Sir Definitely Not Evil's gaze that I do not trust. The silence is stifling, so I curtsy at him. Sir? Charming. Sir Mithros turns his back to Emmeline. Where are you off to on this pleasant... Oh, turns back to Emmeline. My bad. Where are you off to on this pleasant day? Oh, just off to visit a friend. Make sure you bring your guards with you, Princess. Of course. I wonder what's taking him so long. Emmeline decided to invite Rod to join us on her visit. One of the guards offered to get Rod for her, but he still has yet to return. Another stands with us by the gates, ready to escort us into town. Why does the king even keep these incompetent fools if they cannot even find a single person? Maybe we should go look for Rod. But then, what if he gets here as soon as we go searching for him? I sigh. I will go look for him. You can stay here. But you don't need to run errands for me. She has yet to ask me to do anything. What does she think a maid even does? I look at her solemnly, not answering her. Finally, she relents. Thank you, Lucette. I incline my head just slightly before walking off. I feel like a babysitter. I cannot believe I have to search for Rod. This is only slightly better than being dragged around by that broom. I turn around the corner and nearly bump into someone. I take a few steps back just in time. Princess? Fritzy, you're alive! You better freaking live this route, I'm just saying. I can't handle you dying twice. I look up in shock. Fritz's surprise mirrors my own. Where have you been? I've been looking for you everywhere. If he's the boy that dies in like every route hopefully except his own, I'm gonna cry. Because I don't think I could handle multiple cinnamon roll murders, okay? Where have you been? I've been looking for you everywhere. He pauses to stare at my clothing. Why are you wearing a maid's uniform? Fritz, you remember who I am? I would never forget you, Princess Lucette. But it does seem like I am the only one who remembers you. What is going on, Princess? The only people who remember me are the witches, fairies, and... Fritz, are you... I stop when I hear the sound of approaching footsteps. Fritz turns at the sound and then stoops low into a formal bow when he sees Rod. Your Highness? Rod's impassive face twists with annoyance when he sees me. Rod does not even acknowledge Fritz as he walks past him to stand in front of me. Shouldn't you be attending to my sister? I don't understand. Poor confused Fritz. Prince Rod, do you know why the princess is dressed like this? Rod is clearly just as surprised as I am that Fritz remembers me. You recognize her? You remember the princess too? But if you knew, why didn't you say anything when she first went missing? And can someone explain to me why she's attending to Princess Emmeline? This is... Fritz. I cut him off before he can ask any more questions. I feel Rod's gaze on my back as I turn to look at Fritz. No more questions. But Princess... Right now I am a palace maid. A what? It is a long story and I have no time to explain now, so do not ask. Fritz is clearly discontent. He seems to struggle for a few minutes before he finally sighs and nods. Yes, Your Highness. Though it is nice to hear someone here speak my title, it will not do if Fritz calls me that on accident. It is just Lucette for now. But... I turn to face Rod. Emmeline is waiting. What? The guard could not even deliver her message? Where are you going? Emmeline wants to visit her friend's shop in town and she wants you to go with us, Rod. Town? Ordinarily, I would not mind Fritz joining us. But right now, he might just be an unnecessary company. He may very well give me away. Rod barely wants to speak with me when it is just the two of us. I doubt Fritz would make him more sociable. I am assuming that accompanying you is not an option at this point. Yes. Fritz looks down for a moment before looking at Rod. I am sorry to ask this of you, Your Highness, but since she refuses to let me do so, please look after Princess Lucette in my place. You sweet, sweet boy. He puts Lucette so high. It's... I'm so... I love this boy. I instantly love him. Ridiculous. I do not need to be coddled. Even if I did, Rod couldn't care less if I am hurt. Though I am kind of curious as to why he doesn't remember his curse. I imagine that, like, we won't know until his route? And it's kind of funny that he doesn't remember it when we already have an amnesiac boy. Guess we'll find out. Even if I did, Rod couldn't care less if I'm hurt. I will do my best, Sir Fitzgerald. I cannot tell if he is being genuine or not. Fritz bows to the both of us. Stay safe, Prin. My name, but with one N, Lucette. I'm Prin. He said my name. And you, Your Highness. Rod turns and begins to walk away without another word. Come on. Rod is silent as we make our Rod is silent as we make our way back to the palace gates. I am still thinking about what he said to Fritz earlier. Why would Rod agree to Fritz's request? Because he just wanted him to leave? I stare at Rod's back as he walks in front of me. Sometimes I cannot figure out what he is thinking. Rod, Lucette. Emmeline beams when she catches sight of us. Are you ready? Rod crosses his arms. He does not look very happy with his sister. Even though Rod is younger, I cannot help but think that he often sounds like the older of the two. I am busy, Emmeline. I can't keep dropping everything whenever you want to leave the palace. I'm sorry, but I just really needed some fresh air today. You can get plenty of fresh air on the palace grounds. I felt I needed to be off the palace grounds. Emmeline's face drops as she looks down at the ground. Rod lets out an exasperated sigh before stepping inside the carriage. Come on. Aw, Rod. Just for an hour, okay? Thank you. Now, I'm wondering why he's so hesitant to go, because, I mean, he went with them to the toy store the first time. I guess it's just because he really doesn't want to be around Lucette. I soon come to realize... Actually, I'm going to go ahead and stop things right here. Thank you guys so much for joining me. I am Bekan. And this so far has been Cinderella Phenomenon. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, feel free to like the video. And if you like me, feel free to like, subscribe, comment, all that lovely stuff. And I will see you guys next time. Bye-bye!